Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ryan Retro channel. In today's video we're going to take a look at a huge gaming hard drive you can buy from Amazon or AliExpress. I've covered a couple of these on the channel before, including one from the same brand as today, and that was actually my best performing video ever. Loads of people went out and bought that hard drive, and I've had lots of people tell me that it works really well. Now there is a bit of dodgy stuff you have to do at the beginning. It does tell you to disable all of your antivirus protections, which looks a bit dodgy.
You're going to need to close any other programs and delete them permanently.
So later in the video I will show you a way to get around that and better ways to use this product. But first of all, let's get it unboxed and see how it's meant to be used. Straight away we have a nice little controller picture here. And it also lets you know you can email them at any time. I will say they have been the best at replying to my email of any company I've worked with, and I'm not just saying that, some of them have been dreadful. It seems to come with a nice big color manual here, which the previous one didn't, so this seems to be a nice improvement. God, this is a big manual. There's no chance I can show all of this on the camera, but we have all English, all the settings you need to disable. Once again, I'll show you an alternative method later. But for today, I will be your guinea pig, and I'll be disabling all of my antivirus protections like an idiot. So here is the drive itself. Let's see what comes with it before we get into the main goodies. We have a USB-A to USB-C cable, which we'll use for connecting this to our computer. And we also have a little power brick here, which has an American power cord. Not much use to me, but I'll find a way to get this plugged in. So here is the drive inside its USB enclosure. It has some ventilation on the bottom, a on and off button at the top, the DC 12 volt power barrel plug there, USB-C to connect to your computer or whatever device you may be using, whether that's a handheld or anything else. Lighting here, which you'll see when I power it on soon, and we can open it up and reveal the hard drive inside, which is what we're really paying for here. This should slide out with just a simple little sliding motion. Yep, there it is. Here is the 4 terabyte hard drive. I also seem to have dislodged some sticky little padding thing there. Whoops. I'm not really familiar with the brand HGST. Let's check out their website. It seems to be Hitachi, which is a well-known brand. Let's plug it back into its enclosure, stuff that piece of foam somewhere there, why not? Slide it back together, and now we're going to connect it to our computer. In my previous video, I connected it to a Steam Deck running Windows, and some people in the comments were quite angry about that. So don't worry, I've listened to you, but unfortunately I still don't have a Windows PC, so I'm doing it again. So I'll plug the power cord into the enclosure and then plug this into the wall. We should theoretically be able to plug a USB-C to USB-C cable directly into our handheld if it's running Windows. But because I also want to show you what I'm doing and connect an HDMI cable and things like that at the same time, I'm going to plug this USB-C cable to USB-A cable into this dock, which you can see in my dock video. This one's made for the Steam Deck, so it has a nice little stand for the Steam Deck there, so you can smash it up real good. And then I'll connect my capture card and power to this, and I'll see you on the big screen. Now here we are with the hard drive connected to our PC, and here it is, the 3-game system. Now let me say first of all, I sincerely hope it has more than 3 games on it. I previously showed a hard drive that had almost 100,000 games, but that one was $339. This one is $189, still has over 20,000 games, and they promise no repeats, which is the real big claim here we need to have a look at. So once you come into the 3-game system folder here, we're going to come along to Core Type R, and then we're going to open the Core application. And this is going to launch all of our games. You can see we have RetroBat with all of our retro games. We have Playnite, which will have our PC games. We have Tekno Parrot, which will have arcade machines. And that's actually it. The previous hard drive I showed came with some redundant things like an empty Kodi and 2 different kinds of arcade apps, Tekno Parrot and Coin Ops. This one only has 3 things, which straight away for me is actually better because the other one had a lot of redundant stuff. So let's come along to RetroBat first of all and see what retro games we've got. So let's have a look at what's included. Everything here seems to be grouped by brand. So we'll kick off with the brand which shall not be named. First of all, we have NES. It says that I've played 7 games. I've absolutely not played any games yet. This is just how it was when it was sent to me. So let's open it up and you can see the way that the drive is organized. It's got really nice artwork for every game here. The box art, the console art, a retro TV playing a video of the game. It's all put together really nicely like these drives usually are. So if you were to hook this up to something connected up to your TV, it's already got a nice front end put together here for you to use. I don't see where it says how many games are in each system, so I might actually try to change to a different theme here. I've now changed to a different theme, so we have a different look. Once again, very nice. And now instead of all that extravagant artwork, we've just got a simple screenshot from the game. One thing I'm noticing right away here is there is a duplicate, which it claimed there were not. I'm actually seeing Adventure Island 3 USA, Adventure Island 3 USA. Now that's a bit of a shame, but let's go through and see if there are many other duplicates. I am seeing mostly all different games. I just changed the theme again to ES Theme Carbon Old, and here we can now see how many games are included. So on NES, we have 888 games. Let's try to launch one and see if it works. It launched into what I assume is RetroArch with a nice little CRT TV overlay on the side of the screens here. The game doesn't seem to have any audio. I think that's probably a problem with my Steam Deck setup. But don't worry, because I'm providing the audio for you. You can beat this team easily. Thanks, Billy. Robin, here's today's memo. Thanks, Anne. Uh-oh. Anne's been lobotomized. Robin, try your best out there. I will be the first to admit I have no idea how to play this game, as it was released the year I was born, but I have the option of pass, shot, or if I press enough buttons, drib. Let's go for a drib. Okay, I have to admit I'm enjoying this game already. It's really cool. It's like I'm in a football anime. Oh, I'm running at the goal. Number 6 is shot. What now? Well, I have a lot of guts. 800 guts. Use the guts. We have an option of punching or catching. I believe in myself. I can catch this. I cannot catch this. Okay, I think we get the idea with this game. It works well. Let's get back to the main menu and see what else we've got. Like with all these devices, I just press start and select at the same time, and that gets me out of the game. Let's go back and check out the next system. We've got the Game Boy. 859 Game Boy games. Most of them have screenshot artwork, not all of them. If we switch the theme back to the original, ES Theme Animatics DX, here we have a much nicer looking front end. We can scroll through our games, and if we stop for a moment, everything will zoom in and give us lots of information. It's really nice. Let's see if they have my favorite Game Boy game I had as a kid, which is simply called Tennis, and which I show on a lot of devices, but it doesn't always come with all the devices. It's a little bit more obscure. I'm also noticing some games that seem to be repeated here, like Star Wars and Street Fighter 2. Here is Tennis. Here is the game that I love. Once again, we have a really nice looking overlay. The game seems to be loading totally fine as well. And I've also figured out how to turn the sound on. It was a problem with my capture card. The sound is working fine. Woo, woo. Haha, got him with the cheeky lob. So another game working fine. The overlay looks fantastic. Let's move on. Next up we have the SNES. 2,106 games. That is a lot of SNES games. Again, I'm saying repeats. EU and US versions I will count as repeats, unfortunately. So while there's a claim that there are no repeats on this drive, and while I've put that in the thumbnail, I think, because that was the big claim, unfortunately, it turns out to not be quite true. So if you were thinking of buying this because of that no repeats claim that they make, just be aware there are repeats. Let's just see what value we have in this drive. So as I'm scrolling down the game list here, you can see all the games we have. Things like Inspector Gadget, Sensible Soccer, Lemmings, Mario Paint. Oh, it's worth it for that alone. A lot of volumes of Picross. The Pink Panther Goes to Hollywood. A game I've never seen before called Plock, which has a really nice looking art style. Again, we've got the EU version, the US version, another US version, the Japanese version. I definitely count these as being repeated ROMs. We've got Spider-Man, we've got loads of great games on here. Star Fox, Street Fighter 2. Another game I've not seen before but looks really nice called Stunt Race FX. Super BC Kid, Super Alfred Chicken, Super Back to the Future Part 2. They love their supers here. Super Baseball Simulator, Super Batter Up, Super Battleship, Super Battle Tank, Super Black Bass, Super Bomberman 2, Super Bombliss, Super Bowling, Super Bonk, Super Buster Bros, Super Caesar's Place, Super Caesar's Palace, Super Caesar's Palace. Isn't that a pizza restaurant? Super Castlevania 4, Super Chase HQ, Super Chinese Fighter Japan, Super Copa, Super Danny. And if you hit the subscribe button, I would be super grateful. So after about 10 minutes of scrolling past all of the super titles, which has almost broken my thumb, we do eventually get to the super game I wanted to try, which is of course Super Plumber Man World. I am noticing on this one, there's a little floppy disk drive icon, which I'm going to assume means there's a save state on this. So if I hit the top face button for save states, oh, there it is. There's a save state from a date I'm not going to say in 2025. So here is the save state, and it seems to be completely empty. It's basically just a save state on the beginning starting screen. Okay, fine. Let's jump into the game. Once again, there's a really nice overlay on this. They've done a good job setting this up. And if anybody watching was around when I did a live stream of this game, you will know that I might be the worst person to ever play it. Again, the game's working great, looks fantastic, the overlay is lovely, good experience, and if you're looking for a drive full of games starting with the word super, I think you've already seen that this game gives you your money worth and more. So let's again press start and select to back out of this game. Let's move on over to the next one, which is the Nintendo 64, 308 games. So let's have a look through these hundreds of N64 games to see what we've got. We've got a few cruising games which have a really nice graphic styles, like Cruisin' World, Cruisin' USA, and Cruisin' Exotica. Games you probably know well, like Donkey Kong 64, Diddy Kong Racing, Duke Nukem 64, and Earthworm Jim 3D. An ECW game is a game that I've never seen before. I was a big fan of the SmackDown and Raw games as a kid. We've got F1 Grand Prix games, F-Zero X, which I really did like as a kid, a few FIFA games, Hot Wheels Turbo Racing is another great game, Hey You Pikachu, tons of baseball games this time around. We've got a boxing game, Knockout Kings 2000, Kobe Bryant's NBA Courtside. We've also got some Little Prince Boy games like the Majora's Mask and the Ocarina of Time, some Madden games as well for American football fans, Mario Kart 64, that's a classic, Mario Tennis, and the ones I'm particularly interested in will be the ones beginning with P. Here it is, Pokemon Snap. I absolutely adored this game. Pokemon Stadium was good as well. And someone please remind me in the comments, but I believe Pokemon Stadium was the one that you could get your Pokemon from your Game Boy and put those Pokemon onto the N64. Is that right? I had Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Coliseum, I had my little Pikachu limited edition Nintendo 64, and I do remember somehow getting my Pokemon from my GBA or Game Boy Color onto there somehow. Penny Racers is another classic. Perfect Dark's a nice shooting game. We've got tons of stuff on here, and being the early 2000 Nintendo, there's loads of things based on TV shows like Scooby-Doo and things like that. WCW versus the NWO. Now that sounds like a cool game. Wipeout 64, another good game. Wheel of Fortune. Tons of stuff to sink your teeth into here. Let's have a go at Mario Kart 64. Again, the game loads up right away. We seem to have a custom Mario Kart 64 overlay on this. And here we go, we're in the game playing Mario Kart 64 with our custom overlay. Winning, like always. Shooting off into the lead with Captain Toad and having fun. The great things about drives like these is they don't require any setup whatsoever. You just plug it in, turn it on, and then you're just playing games and having fun. So let's back out of this game again with start and select. One thing I want to do is try a different game and see if it has its own custom overlay like Mario Kart 64 did. So let's pick a game like Worms Armageddon, for example, and see if we get a Worms Armageddon overlay. We do indeed get a Worms Armageddon overlay. That's really cool. And again, in a matter of seconds, we're playing Worms. Just to complete the test, let's pick a more obscure game like Wheel of Fortune. Surely there's not a custom overlay for Wheel of Fortune. There is! I can't believe it! They've got a custom overlay with that woman. Incredible. Wow, this is so cheesy. I love it. It's a person. I know, it's Ryan Retro.
R.
Oh, it is. It actually is. Ah, stupid game. Next up, we have the Game Boy Color. 596 games. My first ever gaming handheld. One I hold dear to my heart. Some classics on here like Casper, Chicken Run, the Conker Pocket Fit, and seemingly a lack of Pokemon Red and Blue, which is shocking to me. That was the game I got on my first ever system, Pokemon Red. There is Pokemon Crystal twice, Pokemon Gold, Silver, the Pokemon Trading Card Game, and Pokemon Pinball twice again, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, No Pokemon Red is a real shame. Let's instead check out Pokemon Gold, which is my second game. Once again, we have a lovely overlay, this time a teal Game Boy Color. And here we are loading up Pokemon Gold. It looks wonderful, just as wonderful as it did 26 years ago. As I said earlier, everything comes set up, ready to go. So my controller is just working right out of the box with no configuration, and even shortcuts are working as well. So if I hold down the R2 button right now, it's fast forwarding for me. So I'm able to get through the beginning nice and quickly, perfectly set up my name exactly as it is in real life. Yep, I am PPJlo. I will of course be picking Totodile, or as he's called, sorry, bear with me a second, I'm still in fast forward mode, Ojvriksa. He's from Estonia. So once again, another game, working great, looking great. No setup, it just works. Let's jump into another game. Next up we have the N64 Disk Drive. 10 games here. None of them have artwork. They all have random names that begin with nude and end with Japan. A little bit worried about these ones. Whoa, Mario, what a big nose you have. Nintendo GameCube, one of my absolute favorites. Sadly, only 10 games here. Metroid Prime, Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, NCAA Football 2004. 4 of the 10 games are actually just 2 Resident Evil games. Disc 1 and 2 of Resident Evil, and Disc 1 and 2 of Resident Evil 4. We have SSX3, Beautiful Joe, and The Wind Waker. The Wind Waker probably is the iconic game of the system. And again, it has its own custom overlay, which is lovely. Feels like this is one of the systems where they've definitely pulled some of the games out compared to the bigger drive, like the 14 terabyte one I showed before. So this is going to open and load Dolphin for us in the background with an overlay over the top. So here we are in The Wind Waker. Everything's working totally fine. Looks beautiful. We have that nice overlay as well. All the games on this box seem to be at their 1x native resolution. Nothing's upscaled, which makes sense because they wouldn't know what power of machine you're using this with. And just to clear up some kind of confusion about my previous videos on this topic, some people seem to think that the box you're buying is actually like a game console, and it's not. It's just a hard drive. It's literally just a hard drive with files on it. So the performance of these games is going to depend on what you're running them on. Here I'm running on my Steam Deck, which is pretty decent. But if you were to plug this into a gaming PC, you would get much better performance and be able to upscale everything a lot. And then on the other side of the spectrum, if you were to plug this drive into an ancient PC, you'd probably still be able to run the retro games, but as we move on higher up this list later in this video, you might struggle to run some of the more modern PC games. So it's going to depend on what system you have, but here things are running pretty nicely on my Steam Deck, even if I am not running particularly nicely. Let's check one more game and see if it has its own custom overlay as well, because I'm quite enjoying those. Again, Metroid has its own custom overlay. Lovely. With only 10 games on GameCube, let's back out of this and see what else we've got. We've got Game Boy Advance, possibly my favorite system of all time. 1,133 games here. That's a thing of beauty. We've got 007 games, Uno, SpongeBob. And as I scroll through this list, what you're going to see is an extreme amount of Nickelodeon shows turned into games. I didn't realize it at the time, but as I come back to these systems now, these days, it feels like a lot of the Game Boy Advance catalog is just Disney Channel and Nickelodeon shows made into games, as well as famous faces like on Deal or No Deal, David Beckham's Soccer. That is blasphemous. And you could really see they cared about IP and the name on the box at this stage of gaming. Everything is a recognizable name. Dexter's Lab, the game. Digimon Racing. Disney presents Piglet's Big Game. Remade ports of Doom. 5 Dora the Explorer games. What more could you want? Let's see if we have some of the classics, like, of course, the Pokemon series. We have Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Mystery Dungeon, Pinball, Ruby and Sapphire. I can spend an absurd amount of time on just Ruby and Fire Red alone. Looking at the screenshots, they seem to be in Japanese, so let's just check out the language of the game included here. Again, it should not be a surprise to anyone at this point that we have included overlays, but still worth mentioning because that's something we don't usually get. And despite the thumbnail being in Japanese, the game is actually in English. The R2 button is once again a fast forward button, but in the beginning of Pokemon games, if you hit the R button, you're taken into this really annoying help menu, which makes this happen. So it does seem that everything's working here. Let's try out a different kind of game now. When the Game Boy Advance released, I was at the stage of my life where I'd moved on from Pokemon to Yu-Gi-Oh! and I was really into the Yu-Gi-Oh games. So here we have 7 Trials to Glory, a World Championship Tournament game, which will likely be 2004, Destiny Board Traveler, Dungeon Dice Monsters, I was so into that game, Duel Academy, The Sacred Cards, The Eternal Duelist Soul. There's just so many games. Pretty much everything you could possibly want. Unsurprisingly, it loads fine. A lightweight game like this is going to have no problems running, no matter pretty much what system you could possibly have. You'd have to have a pretty impressive machine to not be able to run a GBA game on it. Moving on, we have DS, 1,676 games. That is an awful lot of games. Scrolling through, most of the screenshots seem to be in Japanese. I'm sure you could see some games you recognize and know here. Maybe it might have things like the Professor Layton series, which I liked on my DS. But the game I'm looking for here is Dr. Kawashima's Brain Training. What is that? We've got lots of Dragon Ball games, Dragon Quest games. For the first time, let's try the search button. So I'll press X on my controller and I can now search for a game. I want to search for Brain Training, which was a really big game in the UK when the DS came out. I don't seem to be able to find the game that I used to play, but we do have a Brain Boost, Left Brain, Right Brain, and Brain Shock. I just tried to open Brain Boost, and this was the first game that actually didn't open. It just closed out again. But to be honest, I'm not sure how I'm going to play a DS game with my Nixie Warrior controller anyway. Let's move on to Wii. We have 404 Wii games, like hopefully that's not an error. I didn't have very many games for my Wii, and I think that was partially because Wii Sports itself was just so fantastic. Where's Wally? Okay, I have to check this out. Mapping Wii controllers is quite tricky. Thankfully here it all seems to be mapped for us already, so I'm able to use my left analog stick and just click the A button on my controller, and everything works fine. Soon on my channel, I'll be showing how to use actual Wii controllers to play Wii games on retro handhelds. Watch out for that coming soon. It's going to be really fun. So I will see if I can find Whitebeard the Wizard, and while I'm doing that, see if you can find Ryan Retro dressed as Wally from his university days. Write a comment down below where you found me. I would have loved this game as a kid because I was obsessed with these books. Now we can't look at Wii without actually seeing if we have Wii Sports and if it works. Now unfortunately, Wii Sports does seem to be missing from the list, which is a real shame. Now, once again, it does seem to be almost impossible to play that with a controller. It would certainly take the fun away from it, but not including it is a real shame. Let's move on to 3DS now. We have 12 3DS games, which are Fire Emblem Awakening, The Legend of Zelda, A Link Between Worlds, Ocarina of Time, Mario Kart 7, Metroid Samus Returns, Murder on the Titanic, Professor Layton and the Miracle Mask, which is a game I've been playing quite a lot lately actually, Pushmo, Super Mario 3D Land, Smash Bros, The Legend of Legacy, and Triforce Heroes. Whoa, we have a really garish overlay here. I'm not sure about this one, guys. There is too much going on here. Now we seem to be in the game, but I'm not sure how we can control this. My controller doesn't seem to be doing anything. Can you see that cursor moving all around the screen? I'm not pressing anything. I think it's registering my cursor movements about 20 seconds after I do them. It's somewhat working, but very laggy. The right stick on my controller is moving this cursor, and then clicking in the left stick selects something. Now this is not a fun way to play whatsoever. It does seem to technically work, but this is certainly not ideal. This is a game that would be much better on a handheld, and I will show you how to get these games onto a handheld later in the video, so stick around. Moving on to Wii U now, we have 10 games, which are Batman Arkham City Armored Edition, Bayonetta, Deus Ex Human Rev, Pikmin 3, Rayman Legends, Shovel Knight, Super Mario 3D World, Super Mario Maker, Trine 2 Director's Cut, and Yoshi's Woolly World. This is Yoshi's Woolly World running inside EXAMU. Once again, it's opened up the app for us. The controller's working fine. We don't need to do anything. Now you will notice it's really laggy for the first time today. This game is a little bit tricky to run, and also we are running this from an external hard drive enclosure, which is not the best for performance. So if you did want to play a game that's not working very well, you may want to get this game and stick it on your internal drive to get better performance. Also, for some reason, my B button is not working. So while it has set up the control for me and I don't need to do anything, one of the buttons just simply does not work. So we would need to go into the settings here and set it up properly. So what we're seeing is while everything's set up for you, don't expect absolute perfection always. Let's back out of this game and see what else we've got. Next, we've got The Secret Console, 19 games. Animal Crossing New Horizons, beautiful, fantastic game. Bayonetta 2, Celeste, Fire Emblem Warriors, Hades, Hollow Knight, It Takes Two, very fun co-op game, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Luigi's Mansion 3, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Monster Hunter Rise, Octopath Traveler 2, Persona 5 Royal, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Super Mario Odyssey, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Little Prince Boy Cries of the Monarchy, and Little Prince Boy Exhale Off the Crazy, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It's opening an emulator that is not available to download anymore, which begins with Y, which you can see on the screen. The hard drive is also whirring up like mad. And games on this system are ones that might be a little bit tricky to run through an external hard disk drive enclosure over USB. If possible, you would want to move them onto your internal drive to get the best performance. And again, we'll look at that soon. But here we are with Timmy and Tommy getting ready to escape our boring life to a beautiful exotic island. And if you've reset the game 400 times because you don't like your annoying neighbors like I have, this will not be anything new. I can feel this lagging even just in the intro scene, and it's not because of my Steam Deck, it's because of the hard drive. It's spinning up, it's making sound, it's not running perfectly. So once again, later I'll show you a better way to do this. Let's quit out of this and let's just carry on seeing what's on the drive. Now, I'm not going to keep launching all the games from here on out because we know what runs and what doesn't. I'm only going to launch into the more interesting systems. We now have ports, OpenBOR, Open Beats of Rage. I've never actually tried any of these, but you can have a look at them. They're all kind of side-scrolling style games. And if anyone could enlighten me more on what these actually are, that would be pretty interesting. Like here we have Street Fighter on the Beach. So we have 126 of those. We have a port of Doom. We have the Sega Master System. So now we're into the Sega consoles. 335 Master System games, all very colorful and lovely looking. So have a look as I scroll through these to see if there are any that catch your eye, any you might be looking for. Maybe Miss Pac-Man, Mortal Kombat, Sonic the Hedgehog. Sega Megadrive is one of my favorite consoles from my childhood, and here we have 522 games. Unfortunately, we don't have screenshots for a lot of these games, but some of my personal favorites were International Superstar Soccer Deluxe, Mega Bomberman, and the game I always use in my speaker tests, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This isn't Sonic the Hedgehog 2, what's this? Next up, we have the best handheld ever invented, the Sega Game Gear, which just saying its name will cause its 6 AA batteries to deplete. We didn't have much games for the Game Gear, but the one that really stuck with me was James Pond 2, codename Robocod, because he's just a happy little guy. Look at him move, and the sound he makes when he stretches up to the sky is also really fun. I love this little guy. We have the Megadrive 32X, and we have 35 games for this one. Again, for the millionth time, we have Doom. This is a system I'm not very familiar with, but I am familiar with the game Virtua Fighter, which I must have played on maybe an arcade machine or some other variant of the game. We have the Sega Saturn, 25 games here. So I'll just scroll through these slowly so you can see what we have. Panzer Dragon is one that stands out, as of course do the Street Fighter games. Next up, we have Dreamcast, 103 games. I think the Dreamcast was super cool, and I'm sad that it didn't really take off that much. We have Crazy Taxi 2, no Crazy Taxi 1 interestingly, and Dead or Alive 2 as well. These two games are, for me, the most iconic games for this system, so these are the two you really need included, along with, of course, Soul Calibur. And I also know there are a lot of Jet Set Radio fans out there too. Neo Geo, we have 140 games there. Neo Geo was kind of a little bit before my time, so I didn't play one, but I do really like the graphic style. These art of fighting games that look so similar to Street Fighter, they just look cool. This screenshot would be a cool wallpaper. And look at this cool guy. We have 98 games for the Neo Geo CD system. Again, I'll scroll through so you can see some of the titles, if any of them are to your fancy. And if I stop scrolling on one for a second, we also get a nice little video of the game too. Next up, we have the Sony systems. My home when I grew up wasn't really a Nintendo home. Sony was probably the most iconic gaming brand in my home. PlayStation, the PlayStation 2, these were the heavy hitters. Now we only have 61 PlayStation games, which is a minuscule amount when you consider how huge the library was. And again, it seems a lot of those games are just the same Final Fantasy game spread across 4 discs. Quite disappointing, to be honest. Lots of these games seem to be multi-disc entries, which is a shame, when they could probably have just used chat files. Tekken 3 was a game I loved playing at the arcade, and I also like Street Fighter and Tony Hawk's, but honestly, a lot of these games are not really the games I would pick to put on here. We've got the classic iconic ones like Gran Turismo, Crash Bandicoot and Crash Team Racing. They are great games, but I think we could have done so much more with this space. PS2 now, we only have 19 games again. This drive is not really big on Sony titles. We've got Bully, Dragon Quest VIII, Madden games, Metal Gear Solid 2, Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, Silent Hill 2, and Shadow of the Colossus, God of War as well, of course. Certainly some interesting games to play, but not many titles. PSP, we've got 69 games. Fortunately, again, we do have duplicates. Every time I read a duplicate on here, the asterisk in my thumbnail gets slightly larger. Dragon Ball Z Shin Budokai, a game I do like, and the GTA games, which I think are probably the best PSP games overall, although my personal favourite is Yu-Gi-Oh! Tag Force, which will certainly not be on here. We do have a Sims game on here, which was unexpected, and fans of the channel will know I'm a big fan of Virtua Tennis games, so having 2 of those certainly makes me excited. PS3 now, we have 14 games. Let's see if we can actually launch any of them, because PS3 is notoriously difficult to emulate. We have Batman Arkham Asylum, Bioshock 2, Dead Space, which seems to have a book sign next to it, so I assume there's some kind of manual we could access. Grand Theft Auto 4, the complete edition, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and a few more games you can check out here. Let's try and jump into one of the games and see if it will launch. Let's try Street Fighter 4. We get an RPCS3 fatal error. Emulation is stopped. Invalid file or folder. This was honestly expected because PS3 is notoriously difficult to emulate and most of the apps to emulate it just are not very good. It doesn't mean the ROM is terrible though, and we may be able to repurpose it and reuse it later. Next we have PS4 without an icon, 17 PS4 games. We have Bloodborne. They mostly seem to be very small games like Castle Crashers and Cat Quest. Let's try Castle Crashers and see if it's even possible to load a PS4 game. So I assume we're going to load into Shad PS4. Oh, here we are into the game, and we are actually playing a PS4 game here. Now, granted, this is Castle Crashers. Castle Crashers is the lightest weight game ever. It's basically just a really lightweight browser game shoved onto a PS4. But if I open all my windows here, you can see we are running this in Shad PS4, a PS4 emulator. So this, I believe, technically is a PS4 game we've got running here. And it looks fantastic. So it just goes to show running PS4 games here is possible if you class this as a PS4 game. Next up, we have all of our games, and you can see there are 12,440 games here. Just remember, this is only RetroBat. This is not the whole drive. Next up, we have arcade games, 1,908 arcade games. So I'm not going to be able to show you all of them, but as we scroll through, you're going to see a huge list. And sorry if this is making you dizzy. It is definitely making me dizzy. Let's just stop somewhere around here. And as you can see, tons of arcade games to play. Even the Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon game. We next up have our favorites. So as we go through our game list, if you want to add anything to your favorites, it will appear here. So if I just use this Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon game, purely coincidental that I'm going to choose this one for the demonstration. If you look at the bottom of the screen, we have a key about what button we need to press. And these are the face buttons. So the A, B, X, and Y button. And some of them have 2 options depending on whether you just tap it once or you hold it down. So I'm looking to favorite something. I can see here if I press the top face button, we have save states or favorites. So if I press it once, it will show the save states and we're able to jump straight into one of our previous save states. But if I want to add it to my favorites, I'm going to hold down the top face button. So I'll hold it down and you'll see it says at the top of the screen, it's been added to favorites. And it also now appears at the very front of the list. So whenever I open my arcade games, the first entry in that list will be my favorite game, Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon. And if I come along to the favorite section, I now have one favorite game. So if anybody ever asks, what is Ryan Retro's favorite game? It is quite clearly Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon. Next up, we have light gun games, 102 of them. Here are all the light gun games, and I'm not sure how they're going to work with the controller I'm using. So I'm going to try out Duck Hunt, a classic. Let's choose one duck. So I'm in the game and I don't seem to have any kind of cursor. Not quite sure how to get this one set up. If you know, let me know in the comments below. I have stumbled upon a way to change the shader of the game, which is cool. By holding L2 and then moving the left analog stick left and right, we can quickly go through different shaders and change how the game looks. So while that does not help me shoot any ducks, I have at least learned something by mistake there. So yeah, learn from my mistakes. Next up, we have the last played list. Here you can see all the games you recently played and jump back into them. Also very useful. We have vertical games, 677 of them. So if you were using a vertical handheld like the Magic X one that I showed on my channel before, you could transfer over some of these vertical games and play some of those. Next up inside RetroBat, we have RetroBat, which is quite confusing. This is actually just a list of all of the emulators that it's using. So you can actually launch into the emulator itself directly, like EXAMU for example, and set up all your controls properly. Next up we have this one. Not too many games here, but some recognizable titles like PGA Tour and FIFA International Soccer and John Madden Football. Also Road Rash, absolute classic game. For anyone not aware, you drive motorbikes around but then smack people with chains and bats. It's great. We now have MAME, Multiple Arcade Machine Emulator, for emulating all kinds of arcade machines. 1,908 games there. You can see it's actually just shared with the previous arcade section because my favorite game is right there again. We have the Atari Lynx, 75 games here with all lovely looking cartridges, including Fat Bobby, Hard Driving, and Kung Food, back when the names of games were really fun. Now we're on to Microsoft systems. Again, ones I loved in my childhood, so I'm going to see if these worked. First up, the original Xbox from 2001. We've got 68 games here. 007, Agent Under Fire, the 2002 FIFA World Cup, Baldur's Gate, Burnout, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Fable, Forza Motorsport 1, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, which I'm pretty sure I rented from Blockbuster back in the day. Halo Combat Evolved, which is the one I'm sure we were all looking for here. Jet Set Radio Future, so good they included it twice. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2X, and some games that I've not really heard of. They seem to be a bit obscure, or maybe they just weren't the games I particularly picked up. We do also have GoldenEye, Rogue Agent, and one more Fable game. Opening an Xbox game will launch into EXAMU. Now this is a notoriously difficult platform to run, and it still doesn't run well on almost any system. This is Halo Combat Evolved, and as you can see we are in the game, launching into the tutorial at the beginning of the game right here. It's loading, the controls are working fine, we have a nice overlay again thanks to the emulator we're using. Everything's all ready and good to go. Performance isn't the best, but here we are in Halo on Xbox, so can't really complain too much. Let's press start and select to bring up the menu and exit out of the game. Next up we have Xbox 360. 126 games here. This is really exciting. I'm not expecting these to run very well, but I'm very excited by them. Again, we've got really simple games like Angry Birds. It makes sense to put really low file size games on here so we can squeeze more in. Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Barbie and Her Sister's Puppy Rescue. I'm not seeing the games I really remember on the system like Battlefield Bad Company 2, but you know, Battlefield Bad Company 2 or Barbie and Her Sister's Puppy Rescue, there's only one winner and they chose the right one. Coliin McRae Dirt was a great game, and just from this little preview we have here, you can see the graphics look fantastic. We also have Dirt 2 as well, which again, just the colors there are cinematic. Let's see what else is included before we jump into a test of one of the games. We have Diablo 3, a game lots of people are still playing today on PC. Fable 2 Game of the Year Edition, FIFA Street 3, Forza 2, Gears of War 2 and Gears of War 3, Gears of War Judgment, multiple Gears of War games, Halo 3, Halo Reach, Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary. There are some great games included here. You have Just Cause 1, Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle-earth, I remember that game, Metal Gear Solid, Midnight Club Los Angeles, Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe. I don't remember that, but that sounds incredible. Need for Speed Carbon, Project Gotham Racing 3, that is one that I definitely have. I remember the box art vividly. Red Dead Redemption on 2 discs. I didn't know that came out on the Xbox 360. I thought that was far newer than that. Ridge Racer 6, Resident Evil 4, Street Fighter and Tekken. There's a lot of stuff here. Lots of great titles to pick from. Let's try Coliin McRae Dirt 2 because it looks incredible from that little video preview. I've loaded into Dirt 2 in Xenia, but as you can see, it's really dark. I don't know what's going on with the game, but it is extremely dark. I think something's not quite rendering properly here. And now finally it crashed. So yes, Xbox 360 is still very much a work in progress across all systems. Don't expect too much from it, but we do have 126 games here we can hold on to while the emulators keep developing and improving. Next up we have screenshots, which apparently there are 5 in there. Maybe I did that by mistake. We have then the PC Engine, 313 games. Once again, this is before I was even born, so I'm not really sure about these. Have a little look as I scroll through them, and hopefully there's something in there that you might like. For example, the Jackie Chan game. And that actually brings us back to the original first system we looked at, the NES. So that is all of RetroBat. But remember, we have more than just RetroBat on this hard drive. So there are all the RetroBat games. If you think that's worth your money already, then check out the link in the description below. But if not, let's move on. And anyway, let's just see what we've got. So I'm now going to come down to the quit button and get out of RetroBat. Next up, we have Tekno Parrot. Tekno Parrot is a collection of various arcade cabinets from around the world. Now we have the same thing as RetroBat again, where we have favorites, we have recently played games, and we don't have too many options here compared to the 14 terabyte drive I showed before. Here we've got EXAMU Ex-Board, Namco, Nesica, Taito X, Taito X2, and that seems to be pretty much it. So let's go through all of them and see what we've got. So first of all, EXAMU Ex-Board. We seem to only have two games here that are just repeated infinitely. We have something that says Arcana Heart 2 and Arcana Heart 3. So these are games I'm not familiar with. They're from 2008 and 2009 respectively. If you wanted to play those, you could. Just like any of the other games, you can just press the OK button and it will launch you into an emulator so that you can play the game. We have some stats at the top of the screen. Times played 4, average time played 38 seconds. Total time played 2 minutes, and total system time played 8 minutes. Now, once again, that's not me that played that, that's whoever did it before they sent off the hard drive. There was an error waiting for the window. Fantastic, let's just back out of this. In my experience, these arcade emulators never work particularly well. Let's look at Namco. We have these Wangan Midnight Maximum Tune games. These all look really cool. Max Storm. Again, it seems to be only a few games here, just repeated over and over again. Nesica Live, we have Chaos Code, New Sign of Catastrophe, Damon Bridge. These are mostly Japanese games, or games from all around the world, but mostly Japanese arcade cabinets. We have Homura, and one that's probably more recognizable to a lot of viewers of this video, which is a Street Fighter game. This is Hyper Street Fighter 2, the Anniversary Edition. These are various arcade cabinets that you may or may not be familiar with, and in my experience, they just don't usually work, which is a shame because they're usually pretty fun games. We have a Persona fighting game. I'm still making my way through Persona 4 on the Vita, so that's pretty cool. And let's look at the last two systems, which are the Taito systems, and these I believe are the most popular ones. We have games like BlazBlue Calamity Trigger, a game that I bought years ago, I think on Steam. I can't remember where I bought it from, but it's a great game. BlazBlue Continuum Shift as well. Realize I may have mispronounced that last time. Can't have a game system without Contra. Wacky Races, one of my favorite TV shows of all time. This is a 2008 Wacky Races game. I need to try this. Once again, we're in that dreaded loading screen. It seemed to load something up and not really work. Let's see if I can just manually open that up. It doesn't seem like it. Arcade systems just don't seem to work well for me on my particular setup with my Steam Deck here, so just look at the games that are included. You can grab the games and find different ways to make them work. If they're games that are interesting to you, you can get them this way. This is a good way to build your collection. Then inside of this Tekno Parrot app, we again have Tekno Parrot once again. So inside here, you'll find a lot more games. This, I believe, is just all of the games all in one. And you can see there's loads of games here. We've got Silent Hill, Sonic Dash Extreme, Sonic Sega All-Stars Racing, Spider-Man, Star Wars, loads of recognizable IP here, Tomb Raider. If this works flawlessly on your system, then it will be really fun to play these games. But unfortunately, it just never works on mine. So I'm going to back out of this now. And let's move on to possibly the most interesting part of the drive, which are the Windows games. Let's see how many there are, what's included, what we can get. So here we are in Playnite, a completely free app that I highly recommend getting for your own computer that lets you organize all of your PC games, whether they're from Steam or standalone games or anywhere else. You can just get them all together in one. So I'm actually genuinely excited to look at these and see what we've got here. We've got a game called Aeolus Tournament, which never heard of. After Party, we have All-Star Fruit Racing, Asterix, Obelix, XXL 2 and 3, Astroneer. I'm gonna be honest, not actually heard of any of these games yet. A game that I can't even read, Atelier... Can't read that, it's too small on my little Steam Deck screen. Please someone enlighten me what that game is. Baldur's Gate, Blazing Chrome. This was included on the previous hard drive I reviewed, and I got some flack in the comments for not knowing what it is. So you'll be happy to know, I still don't. We have Broforce, Crimson Keep, Castle Storm, Lots of games that I'm not really familiar with, but there are some heavy hitters on here. We have Cuphead, which is of course a very lightweight, low file size game, but a fantastic game. Then one that's really going to definitely be in the thumbnail, Cyberpunk is included. Excellent. Let's scroll down further. What else we have? Elden Ring, another heavy hitter. FIFA 19, not bad. Forager, super cute little game. Final Fantasy, again, I can't read it because it's too small on my screen. I think that's 7, isn't it? We have GTA 5, another big game. Other GTA games, but again, we have these on other systems, right? Like the PSP version, etc. Horizon Chase is a great game. But let me know what other games you like on here as well, the ones I'm not reading out, because I'm sure there are ones that are jumping out at you that aren't jumping out at me yet, and it's great to learn about new games from you guys. No Man's Sky, another big game. Red Dead Redemption 2. There are some huge PC games on here. Very, very impressive games we've got here. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Shovel Knight, a couple of Streets of Rage games. Of course, the Battle of Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, the best game here. Spider-Man 2, a couple of Tomb Raider games. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. There are some fantastic games on here. Similar to the 14 terabyte hard drive I showed before, because of course they're from the same company, Pirprit. They're going to have the same titles, but they've really kept the best titles on here, in my opinion. The ones like Cyberpunk, The Witcher, Elden Ring. There are some really nice games on here. So let's see if we can jump into one and how it works. Let's see if we can jump into Cyberpunk. So I'll select the game and choose play. And here we are inside Cyberpunk. As you can see, it's all in Chinese, which I guess is kind of to be expected, as this is a Chinese company making this drive. So let's just go into the settings and just kind of poke around a little bit and figure out what is language. This looks like it could be language, possibly. But that's okay, I don't need to read anyway. We're just checking if it works. It seems to be working completely fine. Looks great. Everything's working totally fine, besides obviously it being the not in a language that I understand, but that's easily fixable in the menu. And it does seem to be working completely fine, so that is awesome. So that's what's included on this hard drive when you boot up this core application file. But in order to boot up this application file, you will need to disable all of those antivirus things, which is, of course, not recommended. So how can you get around that? How can you access all of these files without needing to disable anything? Well, let's close this application down and just look at the hard drive itself. So hiding in these folders are all the games. So what you could do is just get this hard drive, grab the games and move them onto your computer or onto your SD card, onto your handheld, anything like that, and just use the games. That's what I would recommend. So in order to find the games, we're going to come into Collections, Computers, ROMs, RetroBat, and then ROMs once more. And then these are all your console ROMs, all your retro ROMs. For example, here is PS2. And here are all the PS2 game files, which you can grab and use. If we come back to the ROMs folder and look at N64, here are all the N64 games. We have a media folder, which has images, another separate images folder, which again has images, which you can also use as well. So that's where you can find all of the retro ROMs. If we now come back to the main folder and once again go to Core Type R, Collections, Computers, ROMs, and then instead of going to RetroBat, we can go to one of the others. Let's say Hyperspin Tekno Parrot. Once again, Collections, Tekno Parrot, ROMs. Here are all the ROMs for those arcade machines. So for example, here's Batman, and here are all the files we need to launch that game. So we can once again just take this folder and use it with our arcade emulators. If we once again come to the hard drive, now let's find the PC games. So let's go to Core Type R, Collections, Computers, ROMs, and now let's choose Playnite. Come down to PC Games, and here are all of the PC games. We can come to, for example, Cyberpunk 2077, and just copy that to our internal drive. Here are all the files we need to run the game. Everything we need is right there, and you don't need to disable any antivirus things. You can just grab the games and use them. So do I recommend this hard drive? Yes, I do, but I don't recommend disabling all of your antivirus to use the Core EXE program that I showcased. I would instead recommend getting this drive and just grabbing the files you want and putting them on your handhelds. Putting the games onto an SD card, putting that into your handheld and using that, I think that's better than using the internal software. While it's cool that it automatically gets your controller working without any need to set it up, it's just a bit worrying disabling all those things. And while I've been doing it for a while and I've not had any problems myself, I can't recommend you do that. Also, if you have a desktop PC, you could just simply open up the case here, slide this hard drive out, and just put this inside your PC like a regular hard drive. You'll have thousands of games on it. You could just delete loads of the games you don't need, put your own games on it, and just use it as big storage. I mean, this is a 4 terabyte hard drive, and it's not that much more expensive than just buying a blank 4 terabyte hard drive. So I do think it's worth it. And also, one more cool use case for something like this is what I've done with the previous 14 terabyte one I got from FireRed, which is I put it into a NAS like this. I made a 2-story NAS with this brain on top. And all I need to do here is plug in the Ethernet and power it, and I can now access these games from anywhere in the world. I can easily transfer them to my devices, play them, do anything. So if you'd like to see me transform one of these into a NAS, which you can use anywhere across your devices, let me know in the comments below and I'll make a video about how to set this up for yourself. So this is another use case as well as just plugging it into your computer directly. And if you're like me, you don't have a big desktop PC, it comes with this enclosure which just super easily slides together. And as you saw in the unboxing section at the beginning, it already comes packaged like this. So you just need to plug it into your device and just start playing games. I think it's cool. Let me know in the description below what you think. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And let's say hello again soon.